Hello and welcome to the Tech Lunch Podcast, where we encourage our listeners to learn something new about tech every week. This can range from learning about new and exciting applications to the advancements in coding and technology. If you are always learning, you will always be a step above the rest. Take the time during lunch or during a break to listen and learn, kind of like a lunch and learn, but for the ears. This podcast will open the listeners' ears to new and exciting technologies they may have not been privy to in the past. These topics will range from manufacturing technologies to data collection technologies and everything in between. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hey, I'm John.
And this week we're kind of missing Ed, but we'll mosey on without him.
He's there in spirit.
Yep, yeah. He's in spirit. I don't know what he's doing, but hopefully he had a good date.
Yeah. No.
But in all seriousness, this week we're going to kind of continue down the path of our, the technology and sports that we started last week. And, we kind of want to get into, the technology in like motorsports and the extreme sports, or those like technology sports, I guess you could call them, like your indoor drone racing and, and stuff like that.
So less so on the edge of like what people would coin esports, but more so on like drone racing is a great example because it's using augmented reality AR as well as you're wearing a VR goggles or glasses to kind of envision where you're moving, and the incredible amount of reaction timing that you need, coupled with the understanding of let's say the virtual realm or that visualization or virtualization, however you want to put it, it's incredible.
And the ability not to get motion sick.
Because I don't know about you, the first time I put on AR goggles, it felt weird. I felt like I was not only out of my element, but it's not like you forgot how to walk, but like you were unsure of where you were walking. You were unsure of your area. Is it really true, or is this really what's around me? It feels like I'm still back at home, but it looks like I'm cliff diving or something like that.
Yeah. My first set of AR goggles was NVGs.
Yeah. Okay.
So night vision goggles.
Okay. A little bit different.
No, same process.
Yeah.
It was pretty much all green and no depth perception.
Yeah.
So you don't know where you're at. I've seen the what are they, the new like first person FPV drones that they use for drone flying and stuff like that. They're using them for sports. They're using them for filming races.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. They're freaking insane.
I think a good example, and we don't want to go back to football too much, but they've started doing some drone recording in football, and
the past weekend I saw some in the college game.
Yeah, exactly. So that, it's really cool to see, but it's like the biggest detractor or the biggest complaint that people had with the Skycam was that it's on a wire here. The kickers are going to kick into it, like we're going to throw into it and stuff like that, and you remove all those obstacles, and this thing only like you got one pilot, and he knows, all right, these are the no-fly zones whenever this type of play is happening. If he knows football, then you're good.
Yeah, I saw them. They were sitting outside the stadium.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're covering for the old Goodyear blimp.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, Goodyear's the one providing the pilots.
Okay.
So it's their blimp technology guys who are running the drones while still using the Skycam over the center of the field. So they're using like different views and stuff like that they're pulling from. Yeah. And it's like, if you think about it now in like NASCAR and top fuel drag racing and Formula One, stuff like that, you got drones out there doing some of the recording by flying over the tracks.
Yeah.
If you think about it, look at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you have the column in the center of the stand, and so that shows your leaderboard.
Right.
By trackers on the vehicles that are kind of using like a GPS type. So, to track what vehicle's in front and stuff like that. It's that type of stuff.
Something I didn't think about is there's GPS trackers in each of the cars, because that makes sense. Also, Same thing with RC
like
car
the Baja
racing.
5000. Yeah, that we did see the other day.
Yeah, which is incredible that they can leverage the same type of technology. I love the drones actually. I mean, this is probably one of the last things I want to kind of speak on it because it's not so much tech and sports, but it's something cool that the drones can do.
Yeah,
is you can get like what was the guys, they had like hundreds of them, and they found like an abandoned like valley somewhere in like Colorado or something, and cleared out some area, and they sent all these drones up, and they synchronized, and they flew together in a flight pattern, and they shined LED lights to show Christmas trees, to show to fakes, quote unquote fakes the fireworks, and like it looked exactly like how it would normally. So like it's saving you so much, I would say in the cleanup, but I mean you're paying that in electric, but at the end of the day, we can work that back in, and we can build that back up. But that's the drones, like to me, is it's easier to get them into places you can't get a jet in, or we don't have
blimp.
Yeah, we don't have a blimp like that, or jet packs in the sense that we would like them to be in, right?
Yeah,
like right now it's like
UK military is playing with it.
Yeah, the military is playing with some things, but like it's probably pretty clunky, and it's you see you from a mile away, and they're probably not trying to work with something like that.
Yeah.
If you could see them.
It's like if you think about it, freaking like drone shows and stuff like that. They use them for like halftime shows and the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Whatnot. So they use them all the time.
Yeah.
Then when you start getting down, into other type of sports and stuff like that, you start getting down into motorsports. Like NASCAR, for example. You have onboard OBD2 readers, so everybody can see what that vehicle is doing. Yeah. Their speed. Their freaking their acceleration and deceleration. What gear they're in, out of all things. Yeah. You have, one of the hardest things to get done is, the UHF communication that's synchronized between all of the cars and the pit crews. It's all of that you're dealing with. Yeah. Not including the engine timing and stuff that they're playing with. Yeah,
I bet that also, with how in tune that is with, showing the fans what's exactly going on in that car, it kind of puts you, number one, it puts you in the place of the driver. It makes you like, what would I do in this situation? So that's, more inclusive, and it makes people want to watch and continue to watch. But also on the sense of, I'm thinking about like the engineers and the mechanics who built that engine.
Oh yeah.
And they're looking at these numbers, and they're like,
Dyno's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, we could probably get that quicker. We could probably get a half a second off that time. We could probably get a half a pound off of that, because we don't need this counterweight or that counter. But like at the end of the day, they're using all this data that's being fed in probably through an API of some sort, and into a cloud, infrastructure of some type, and they've got to be able to leverage it. Now it sounds like a lot more when you're it sounds like very geek or nerdy when you're like, we're talking about racing, or cars, or dirt tracks, or whatever the case, the Indianapolis 500. But at the end of the day, all of these topics that we've talked about endlessly is database infrastructure and visualization, virtualization, VMs, and cloud-based architecture. It's all used in that.
Most of it's under the Microsoft Azure banner. In AWS now. You get a lot of the AWS guys. Almost said CWS. That's sponsoring some of these cars. So some of their data does go there. Yeah. They're all involved, and there's cars out there right now. I think inside the NASCAR freaking area where all of them have in-car cameras.
Right.
But it gives the fan the ability to be in the vehicle with them. When they're going around that track and stuff like that. Yeah. Seeing the bank leans of some of these courses. Some of these tracks are some of the highest bank courses in the world. You have to, you go through tires left and right, just because you got to make sure your alignment's good. However, you're dealing with caster camber at that point, because you have to release weight on one side and add weight to another to make sure the vehicle sits flat in that corner. Yeah. And then you start dealing with like NHRA and Top Fuel and some of these drag cars. You're dealing with reaction timers to say when somebody left the line, so when that timer starts, when that bumper crosses that line, to the time that you get to the end, how fast that is, and they got to make those decisions at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, would you would you say that's a light curtain right there?
I think so.
I would assume so. Actually, that like I think about
It's
it,
got to be a break-free light curtain.
Yeah, because the car's bumper breaks that
beam.
plane of existence, that plane, and it stops the timer, right?
Yeah, it's a beam.
Yeah.
So they're always breaking beams.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, what you're talking about, like tuning and stuff like that, the guys who are tuning these drag race cars, they have to rebuild these engines in no time flat over the course of a break. Rebuild the entire engine from top to bottom, retune it, and everything's ready to go. And
it would take me weeks.
So, but the thing is, if you think about it, they're having to can all this data.
Yeah.
All this data is being canned back to them, so they can see that vehicle, what that vehicle did on a run in live time, or at least in the data loggers, on board, like the kind of like black box.
Yeah, I was gonna
that's
say
on the aircraft.
Black box. Yeah.
And if you think about it, that split second, 200 miles an hour, and you're making decisions, and that's in that fast time. What the hell you have to do next?
Yeah. No.
And you being a physics guy, you understand the fact that we're dealing with squat and lean here.
Yeah,
to get those rear tires to hook up as fast.
I'm thinking about aerodynamics. I'm like, oh man, you get too fast, you get too much of a surface area underneath.
Yep, and they become sails.
And this car becomes a plane.
Yep. 200 miles an hour and you're an aircraft.
Real fast, and you do not fly long. It's
most of the time they'll bring those front tires off the ground and drop them right back down immediately.
Because I think about when you kind of talk about let's go drag racing. Like you talk about the one-on-ones and knowing when they can kind of start off the line, because the start is majority of it's crazy how impactful the start of a race needs to be for you to win, but you can go too far. Icarus, he touched the sun. He flew too close to the sun. So you can increase your torque to a point where you will torque so fast that the back wheels will move and the front does not have time to react, and you will go nose up, and those back engines will not slow down.
Yep.
And you will start flying.
It's like if you think about it, if you break traction within the first 20 feet of a race, you're done.
Yeah.
You can't get it back. There's no way.
The only way to do that is to dial back your throttle, and
that's not what and by the time you dial back, the other car's gone, and you're puttering across.
Yeah, in a race, you can't. You got to go.
Right, and the thing is, that's just land-based racing.
Oh man, yeah, I didn't even think about.
you start getting into the airplane racing and stuff like that. Now you're dealing with the fact that you have mechanics on the ground that's seeing altitude and stuff like that,
like the Red
and
Bull.
the pitot tubes and stuff like that of what's going on on these aircraft at all times.
Wow.
And then if you're dealing with jet aircraft, you're usually dealing with ejection seats, and stuff like that, making sure those are armed, prior to flight. You're dealing with going through school for aviation at one point. You kind of look at that type of race and you start thinking there's so much technology behind it, because you got to tune the GPS, you got to tune all this other stuff in there. To make sure everything's tuned to atmospheric pressures, because your atmospheric pressures are different than what they are at ground based.
Yep.
So you're dealing with all of that. And there's so much technology that's just behind that little thing. It's it's just so many different things. From ground based to air based. Then you start dealing with like your MotoGP. Your motorcycle racing. Mm-hmm. Now, we got these guys on these motorcycles. They're 200, 250 mile an hour motorcycles. Easy all day long. But most of the time they're about a little bit under, right about 100 to 120 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. However, it's the same thing as NASCAR. We're getting feedback back to the fans and the teams for the entire duration of the race.
Right? Because isn't it? I look at the numbers in the boxes in the corner, and people are talking about lap times. They're talking about he's so many seconds behind. Yeah, splits. So that's exactly what they're looking at. Because when you're talking like racing with airplanes, I'm thinking of what is it, Red Bull's League or whatever.
Yeah, the Red Bull League. Yeah.
Which honestly is very captivating for me, because I'm like, he's just flying through these these pylons or this goal, and it's crazy to see that even though everything looks so similar, people are following the same kind of instructions. The timings were vastly different, and also like they're using technology to show the splits, how much time they need to, how much of the time they're losing in real time. Like
time attack.
I'm losing. I'm back 2 seconds. I'm back 4 seconds now. Oh, that means I'm going slower and to go faster on this corner.
Yeah.
And honestly, in a lot of those cases, it helps them set world records.
Oh yeah, the time attack stuff, the time attack timing equipment is just absolutely insane. They use it, I hate to go back to NHRA, but they use it in time attack in NHRA.
Yeah, no.
Hey, how fast am I going to, how fast am I doing this, quarter, based on the other guy?
Yeah.
It's bracket racing. And the thing is with air racing and stuff like that, it's a drag race, pretty much. You're not flying around with each other.
No.
You're trying to beat the other person's time as fast as you can. The only way you can do that is by taking the data, comparing it to the atmospherics, and figuring out what route is the fastest route to get there, and what your apex is, and how much gas you got to give it.
How many G-forces do you think you can take on this turn?
Right, exactly.
Honestly, because that was something that they had on there too. They were like, he took about 8 G-force on that turn, and for people listening, G-force is 1 G-force is you're just on Earth. It's just normal. So 8 times the gravity that we experience on Earth, he's experienced in that turn. Yeah. So.
And think about it, in aerial G-forces, usually if you're on the ground, G-forces are pushing straight down on your body.
Yeah.
An aerial G-forces pushing you back in that seat. Mm-hmm. And pretty much taking all your internal organs and trying to shove them through the seat.
Yep.
At the same time. If it gives you any idea.
Constant fight for your life.
Your body is designed to go one direction only.
Yeah.
If you start, it's like, think about roller coasters. If you really start wanting to get into the G discussions, you start getting the, high bank turns on, some of the, the Hulk, for example, is one of the higher G roller coasters out there.
Yeah, you mentioned that. It's funny. That was my very first roller coaster I rode.
Well,
it was crazy.
That that roller coaster itself explains the laws of physics when it comes down to friggin' G-force and centrifugal G at the same exact time.
Yeah, it's a lot. Forces pulling you on all different directions, and just think about what is that? Everyone's probably seen it, the movies with it. It's like it's what the astronauts train with. It's that bar they get in. It's like a ride, and it spins them in a circle like a centrifuge.
It's like a centrifuge. Yeah.
I don't know if there's an actual name.
It's just a G ride.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but everybody's seen those things. I've seen a couple videos of that. It's incredible how precise you have to be able to see that. Number one, and number two, to be able to withstand that. I've seen a person who she was 20, fresh, she had no signs of wrinkles, and she hit 10 G's, and she looked like she was 70.
Yeah.
So yeah, what they call it, the G monster. I'm pretty sure is what they call it.
She was the she was that's you're talking about Haley Burdue. Yeah. She was the the youngest commercial astronaut to go into orbit with Jarek Isaacman and his crew of Inspiration 4. She is known as the G Monster. Yeah. With Jared Isaacman and all of them. And they did that for St. Jude. They're going back up again very, very soon for that.
Right.
For the Polaris Dawn missions to support St. Jude. She was a pediatric patient at St. Jude. She's also the first person to go into orbit that's ever had pediatric cancer and has a limb replacement and has a joint replacement. So she can handle 8, 9 G's easy. Yeah. Because most women can handle more G's than the guys can.
Yeah. Just
facts of life here. And it's the funny thing is, if, I know we're kind of getting off topic, but if you really want to experience what a G-force is and you're at Disney, go to Mission to Mars. Mission to Mars, the ride is built on one of the old NASA training training tools that spins you around and makes you feel like you're doing takeoff.
Okay.
That's just one of those things, It's just how it goes.
Well, I mean, it just makes you think about how there's more forces than you know.
Yeah.
And then, you got to think about, compensating for those things. I mean,
think about a corkscrew.
Yeah. We can kind of yeah, exactly.
Centrifugal G-force.
So we can tie that back into
like air racing and stuff like that.
Yeah, the centrifugal force, that's something that no one knows that we experience every day.
Yeah.
It's the Earth is spinning at an odd angle, and that spin is causing seasons to happen.
Yeah.
It's causing your day to happen. So it's something that nobody really thinks about, but it's also something that, when you think about those forces, shot put.
Yeah.
Javelin throw.
Exactly.
They've got to think about these things as well, because you can incorporate that force into giving you more energy for your throw.
Yeah.
Do you know how much a shot put weighs?
It's like 9 pounds.
It's heavy. And these kids, they're throwing at 100. Okay, they're grown men.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're throwing at 170 meters, 190 meters. No. I know most of the people I know, they couldn't throw a football that far. They couldn't throw a baseball that far. A shot put ball, that's incredible. And these guys, they've got the
spin. They've
got to figure out that the spin that they do to start, and the release has to be perfect. Like, and it's crazy because they've gotten to a point where they're pushing their body so much, and they're being told, hey, you need to release here. Hey, you need to spin like this. That their fingers are literally going to break under the pressure that they're creating, the force. It's gotten to a point where it's not the ball that's an issue. It's not the field. It's their hands. Like, no one's hands can withstand holding this weight at that speed and putting that much force into it. So it's incredible because they're using technology to push their bodies to the utmost, maximum, their peak, and then breaking world records. I think I watched the other day, there was one, I don't think it was this past Olympics, I think it was the one before it, if I'm not mistaken, where there was two guys that were just breaking each other's world record, and it's like that rabbit effect. You're chasing someone, you're chasing that rabbit, that you're almost there, you're going to get it, you're going to keep pushing yourself, but they're also using the same technology to get better.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, if you think about it, in like motorcycle racing, it's something called lean sensors. So it tells you just how far you're into that end of that turn and how far you're leaning, dragging knee and stuff like that going into the turns.
I wonder how far they need to lean for those
and
turns.
You'll have a sensor that'll tell you, hey, guess what, dum-dum, you're going too far.
Okay.
Bring it back up. But the thing is, if you think about it, the tire's spinning, depending on how fast it is, that motorcycle will lay all the way on its side if it felt like it.
Yeah.
And then lean all the way back up.
Yeah.
It's all based off of gravity.
And that's crazy, too,
gravity
because
and centrifugal force. And what is that? G-force.
Yeah.
Kicking in. But the thing is, it's always, there's, a sensor, in all this telling the rider, hey, how far am I leaning? It's also telling, the teams, how far is this bike into the lean? How far can that, and if you think about the technology behind the tires, to handle that lean all the way up the sidewall and still maintain rigidity as you're going through that turn before you eject the rider, and send him to the moon.
Exactly.
And the thing is now, if you think about it, even now, when if a rider loses the bike and he's tumbling through the air with the greatest of ease, when he hits the ground at 120 miles an hour, his suit that he's wearing, most of those suits now have an auto-deflate mechanism in there that inflates around the spinal column, around his neck, around his waist, and stuff like that. Turn him into a big giant beach ball. And protecting his internal organs.
Yeah, I didn't know that
technology to save the rider's life.
Yeah,
it's like ever since, if you think about it, back in with if you look at NASCAR as far as for life-saving technology, how that came about was after the Dale Earnhardt Sr. wreck.
Yeah.
The Daytona 500 on that turn when he hit that wall.
Yep. There
was nothing there to stop him from moving forward. Now they have the Haas device, which is now also required in NASCAR, NHRA, IndyCar. It's a system that locks into your harness and locks you to that seat so you don't pull forward. It's an addition to your 5-point restraint harness.
Yeah, I think I remember. I was still young whenever that happened, but it was pretty devastating to a lot of people, and it just shows you that we're pushing ourselves in every way possible, but we should also push the technology to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
It's something that's sometimes it's unavoidable, but they took that lesson and they rolled with it. So and it's not like it's most complicated technology.
If you think about it nowadays, when you were dealing with, can this handle what it is going to handle?
Yeah.
We look at rapid prototyping and stuff like that to get us to that point, and where we're going. Like we've had a lot of conversations about 3D printing.
Yeah.
You could probably hear one going on in the background. But
pretty quiet, actually.
Yeah. He's not as loud as it could be. But if you think about it, that's rapid prototyping. That's something to get safety to the field faster. Mm-hmm. These teams are able to develop stuff they need to keep their individual safe that's on the field.
Yeah.
At all times.
Yeah, you can make the number of different iterations that you can make in quick succession is just it's very valuable in that sense of you're trying to innovate. So we don't have to wait for the big accident to happen. Mm-hmm. We can be ahead of that accident. Like, well, this is our failure point because we tested this way without a human there, and this is where our breaking point is. So,
right. It's like what we watched before we decided before we did this about the shoes from
Adidas. No, Adidas.
From Adidas.
Yeah.
And you think about it, how that technology is now impacting running.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some of those shoes.
The only sport where technology doesn't play a tool at all, unless you're talking about a smartwatch telling you how fast you're running. Yeah, what your heart rate is, what your lap time is.
You're having a heart attack right now.
Right,
Yeah.
Like me, hey chubby, fucking, don't run like that.
GPS, you didn't make it that far.
Right, that's what mine would be telling me. But
hey, you got to start running.
Exactly, you got to start running to get running. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Time will tell. But the thing is, at that same time, you're talking about 3D printed, soles of shoes that helps direct your momentum from one location to another.
Yeah, he broke it down in kind of a free body diagram where you are. I mean, you think about it now. You're flat. Even if you're not flat-footed, you have an arch. Your momentum is stopped by that step. Mm. So momentum, force going down.
Yeah.
In a sense, they're trying to get that. They're redirecting that angle of force forward. So you may be stomping down, but you feel yourself pulling forward. So I think it's a cool idea. It uses lattices and resin printing, and they actually did a really, really cool thing where it's two types of curing, UV curing and heat curing. No. They're using more than that. So they're putting it in a vat to get it cleaned. And cure or help with the curing, but they're also putting it in the oven right afterwards so that it'll hold the shape that they kind of put it in. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, and that's the guys that are partnering with Adidas, a company called Carbon.
I'm just waiting for the basketball shoes to come out.
Yeah, exactly. So, you're talking about shoes that can support multi-directional freaking changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You would never think that some sports that, we would never see technology in, we do. And the thing is what that is. It's a bridge of science and technology to get us to this point.
Yeah, to give him to Zion. He blew his shoe out that one year at Duke, and it was just a normal Nike shoe, and no one had seen that before. Man was just walking or playing basketball on the court, and his whole foot went through his shoe. Yeah, you get a 3D printed shoe out there. If he breaks it, you probably have a 3D printer on the sideline that here's your replacement shoe.
Yeah, here, take this.
Yeah.
And it's just that type of stuff. It's like when you start dealing with sports where technology is usually not in. Yeah. It's the one I kind of laugh about because some people kind of see it coming is golf.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have so much technology in the world of golf.
We do.
That, it's one of those sports that you never thought you would, ever, have golf, have technology in, especially when the greats like Ernie Els and all of them were playing and stuff like that.
They didn't need that.
You don't need to worry about how far your ball flew. The fans did not really care. Yeah. They're watching, their favorite golfer, the Shark and all of them who are now on the senior tour or yet alone retired. That or dead. Ultimate retirement.
Yeah. No, there's no choice there.
Right. There's no coming back to work. If you come back to work, run.
Yeah, that's not good.
So, but the thing is, it's, now we're debating. Now we're still worried about. Okay, cool. That's how far the ball flew. You have guys who are developing ultra flex shafts and stuff like that for long ball hits.
Yeah.
These guys are hitting the golf balls freaking 600, 700, 800 yards using a flex shaft. Which I think is cheating. But that's just me.
If they slow that down, like you see that golf club bend in ways that it never has bent before.
Yeah, and it's all carbon wrapping pretty much.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like ball in flight tracking, you're tracking that ball in flight from point A to point B and keeping track of your strokes. When the caddy can't even keep track of your strokes that well.
No.
But the machine can.
Was that the whole reason to bring the caddy?
Yeah.
Oh, besides he carries your clubs.
Right.
He keeps score.
Yeah, right. He's there to say what type of golf club you need.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you think about it, now they have technology that pretty much is a digital caddy.
Yeah.
Brought to you by NBC.
Yeah, man. And you can literally
CBS.
run the same course that these pros run. If you're like, I can do that. Get yourself a VR. You can get yourself a room, or you can rent a room that will put you in that same, 18 holes, and you can, play like you were playing against Tiger Woods, and honestly, that makes it. We talked about inclusivity last week, but that makes it that much more possible for someone to say, "Hey, I want to be like this person, or I want to be as good as this person.
Mm-hmm.
How can I make my game emulate their game?"
One of my friends who used to work with me has a golf simulator.
Yep.
And he goes in and he plays that simulator all 18 holes before he goes and plays a tournament.
Oh, practice.
Right. It's free practice. I got a lot of friends of mine that, we shoot competition, shooting.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Steel Challenge from USPSA. Or some of our folks who are, global. It's called IPSEC. Mm-hmm. But if you start dealing with some of that stuff, there's simulators out there that help you practice that.
Mm-hmm.
Get better for that. Get better, bow hunting and stuff like that, so you can have ethical shots.
Yeah.
Whatnot. Archery, is a really big one. You got technology in archery now that shows you where the knocks are at if they're flying through the air. If you're out hunting, or you're able to see the impact on target. During some of the big archery competitions in the Olympics or doing 3D shots, and you can see where that arrow hits. When it hits the target, you can see it pop up on the screen. It'll tell you where it's at.
I like that. Yeah.
It's one of those. It's the unexpected. When it comes down to technology and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I think about darts like that. And
darts do the same thing.
It auto-calculates for you. It's like, hey, he needs to hit this block to win.
Yeah.
It tells you before the commentator can tell you. And it's like, commentator's probably reading off the same thing you are.
Yeah. It's like, like what Ed was talking about last week. Pool tables.
Yeah.
Pool tables are another one. Billiards. Bowling. Is another one. I need to take these two pins out. The ball needs to go this way, and hook left and spin a quarter turn and do this, and
I see it very much so. In
me, I throw the ball, it hops 3 lanes, and takes at a small little child down the street.
Yeah.
It's just how it works.
Yeah. I try to spin, but I let go on one side, it goes into the other gutter every time.
Yeah.
There's no hope.
Yeah, I'm really good at gutter ball. That's the only thing I got.
I spin it in place. I try to do the spin. It just doesn't do anything.
Yeah. I try to kick it too. That just hurts the foot.
Yeah, no, not worth it.
So
you can't play with bumpers on. It's not the same. It's not as fun.
You can do the granny roll.
Yeah, there you go.
Where the little shoot thing they got now. They just drop on the shoot thing and let it
roll.
No,
that's called that plinko.
Plinko.
Because that's exactly what you did in Price is Right. It's like you're just dropping it and hoping you get something out of it.
It's like shuffleboard.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, bringing us back to maybe an Olympics one. What is it? It's not shuffleboard that they play. It's like it, but it's on ice.
I know what you're talking about.
I'm not sure what the name of it is.
Oh,
Curling, that's what it is. So curling, that even has technology. Oh, yeah. You see them kind of release in such the lightest way, and you'll see them at the very end. They'll say something to each other.
The sweepers.
And they slightly spin it or turn it at some type of angle. And then the sweepers will say something or call it out. And they'll sweep for a little bit. And then they'll sweep for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing is they're adjusting that friction that's like the curling puck, whatever you want to call it, is experiencing. And they are getting that information from prior games or prior matches they've had and prior practice. So it's crazy because they're using. I'm watching this and I've never in my life played this game. And then I saw it on the Olympics and I was like, "What is this?" Question mark. And I saw it, and then you can see on the broadcast that they're tracking and predicting where it's going to land. They were counting out the targets and showing you what it meant. It just taught me everything I need to know about curling and that technology. It made that inclusive to me.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna probably the Americans that are up there that look like they're just their dads that got lost are probably gonna get beat by the next young crew of kids using technology.
Those were the dads that went out inside to watch a football game and got lost. They went to go get a beer.
Is this how you ended up in the leotard at the Olympics?
That's that's probably how they what is it, hangover happened?
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny that you brought up curling, because I watched a video on curling like a little bit before everybody came over today, and saw how they make the curling puck thing.
Yeah.
They have to use two different types of granite to get the slide.
Is it not a stone?
No, it is a stone. Okay. It's a granite stone, but they have to cut the ends of the stone open to fit certain other types of granite in there, because that's got a higher slide ratio and stuff like that. Okay. And then you have to polish it just right and stuff like that. And the Olympics dictates the angle of the front of the roundness.
Okay.
Of the puck thing.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
There's so much to it that it's absolutely insane. It's like, if you think about it, look at hockey. A puck can only weigh a certain amount.
Yeah.
Before it becomes a deadly projectile.
Yeah, before it's gonna go through you, because they're hitting it like over hundreds of miles per hour.
Yeah, they're cracking it. Damn.
Yeah, that's why they're missing a lot of teeth.
Yeah.
Amongst other things, they're fighting, but
but some of those players out there like Wayne Gretzky and and all of them, some of the greatest players ever to cross the ice, with a heck of a slap shot. If you think about it, and I know we're going over time yet again. If you think about it, look, if you really want to take technology into it, think about how you predict the speed of a slap shot based off the angle of the stick. Oh,
and you kind of do that, and it's crazy because you see the hockey players do that in their head instantaneously. Like, they see you raised it up, you're like, oh man, he's at like 130 degrees. You'll see them dive. If there's no goalie over there, they'll dive and they'll sacrifice their body, and they know this thing is gonna hurt.
Yeah. It's gonna come out there with some force behind it.
Yeah, that's why I always go, don't, you cover your face, just go back first.
Hit a non-vital organ.
Yeah, please, not the spine.
But if you think about it, you have, and it's just not like radar guns. We've been using radar guns in hockey for decades.
Yeah.
And that in baseball. It's just, radar guns are all the rage. Right. But then you start getting into, like what you said, VR and stuff like that, AR. Mm-hmm. Puck speeds and stuff like that. Yeah. You start really tying that into the directional way of travel and angles, and you're not just teaching kids math. No. You're teaching them the sport. You're teaching them how to enjoy it and really kind of know what's there.
It's not only
like what you said about curling. It opens a whole new world of sports.
It shows you something I would have never, honestly, if they didn't show that to me, I would have turned the channel within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know what's going on. Right? I've changed the channel on cricket before because I had no idea what's going on. Right? And that's the thing, is like, it could be the most interesting match, but I have no idea what's happening. And if you don't include me as the watcher, then you're going to lose viewership, which means you'll lose funding, which means that, I'm not saying your days are numbered necessarily, but it can't feel good for the bottom line.
No. And, I hate to say it, I just kind of looked at something. We have a curling club near us.
No, you're trying to get into curling?
No, I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You know, you're in states where it doesn't snow.
Yeah. Where do you curl at? We're swampland. Curling in the swamps, I guess.
You know, sorry, y'all, we're curling with freaking bowling balls, because we can't afford nothing else.
Yeah, on the backs of alligators.
But it's one of those things. It's becoming a global sport, and this is how you end up with. The sports dads freaking ended up in freaking, the Olympics.
Yeah. And
just magically got lost.
Well, they probably, and honestly, they probably showed some real true talent for it, but, like us, we've never been introduced.
Yeah.
So once they were introduced, they probably loved it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's something that they just accidentally did because they're at the Olympic level, but they definitely look out of place.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, I either got the body of a hockey goalie or somebody doing curling.
Yeah, right? Well, professional athlete, that's all you have to say.
WWE superstar.
Oh, man. Those guys are athletes, too. It's crazy to put on that show.
It's insane.
So, yeah.
But, that's, we're going to end it with, that little bit of comedy. But, we hope y'all have a good one. We appreciate y'all hanging in with us. We appreciate the listens every week. We really do this for y'all. Have a little bit of fun with it. We hope y'all enjoy it. Hope y'all know we don't take, pretty much each other or very many things too seriously. Mm-hmm. Unless we know it's a serious topic. But, we're talking about like safety and stuff like that, or stuff that we can train you with.
True.
So, it's just one of those things. So, I say thank you. And, I'm going to turn it over to John for the, closing words and probably maybe a little bit of a charge to do something this week. But we'll see.
But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys listening. We definitely want to keep it engaging. So we were trying to, make a conscious effort to try to reach out to all kind of demographics and anybody who's interested in anything. We can incorporate tech in everything. And it's not anything that, we shouldn't shy away from as humans because it's ingrained in us already and we need it to kind of progress. So I think that if you guys have topics that you maybe you don't like sports, maybe you want to talk about something else, you don't like 3D printing, you want to talk about something else, just let us know. I bet you we can find a way that they're using technology in it, or even find out what's at like the bleeding edge of that technology, and kind of introduce it to more people, because I can guarantee you, if I haven't learned about it before, it's going to be interesting to me because it's just the way the brain works for me. Curiosity killed the cat. Yeah, it's very true. I can't help it.
I agree with that.
But yeah, so yeah, if you hear anything, you got any topics for us, just let us know. My challenge for this week though is learn something new. Something, it doesn't have to be like the big project, like I'm going to build a robot, but learn something that you maybe don't even use every day in your normal job, and then try to make that more beneficial to you. Like for me, for instance, 3D printing isn't something that I'm using every day, but it's something I'm trying to incorporate in my current job. It doesn't really have a place in the the position I'm in, but you work every day to try to get that kind of incorporated because it becomes a passion. So I guess find something you're passionate about and try to incorporate that with your work. Yeah. And that'll definitely make your life more enriching. So, once again, guys, I appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Tech at Lunch podcast, where we hope you learned something about tech during your break or during your lunchtime. If you did, please give us a follow to prevent missing future episodes. If you have any ideas or something you want to hear or learn about, please send us a show idea to podcast@vulcanara.com. Hope you have a good rest of the day and continue learning.